FFG dropped a massive article spoiling tons from Wave 3 of X-Wing 2nd Edition. This wave's going to focus primarily on the Clone Wars era ships. Today we're going to be talking about the Grand Republic. The Grand Republic will be starting off with 3 different ships that will make their way to us through 2 different expansion packs and a newly minted Squadron Pack. Let's start by getting into the Guardians of the Republic Squadron Pack. So we're going to be getting 2 V19 models and a single Delta 7 that matches Obi-Wan Kenobi's paint scheme from Attack of the Clones. The V19 is going to have 5 unique pilots whose names unfortunately we can't make out, but we can tell that there are 2 copies of 2 different non-unique pilots. When we look at the stats, you can see that the V19 Torrent is going to be having 2 front arc attack dice, 2 agility, and 5 hull. Actions are focus, evade, lock, and lock linked into evade. I find the offensive action of target lock being able to link that into evade is actually really interesting, especially since the platform is talked about as a missile carrier in the article. So if that's how people end up playing it, at least at first, you have a way to get that target lock and also take this defensive action to hopefully keep you alive long enough to shoot those missiles off at least one time. By zooming in and making some educated guesses, I'm pretty sure that this is the dial we're getting for the V19. The only thing I'm not 100% sure on is whether or not those are supposed to be Talon rolls or S-loops, but I'm about 90% sure they're going to be Talon rolls. Having access to the 1 through 4 straights and still being able to do an action is definitely going to help these V19's range control in order to get those locks and make those missile attacks. But their mediocre turning options will mean that this ship is probably going to suffer in the mid and end game. Maybe there's something that's yet to be spoiled in that stack of upgrade cards that will make it a little bit more maneuverable. Because the V19 is slightly more survivable than a Z95 and has more action options, I'm going to guess that it's probably going to be coming in at about 30 points for the lowest initiative ship. So we're actually going to talk about the upgrade cards before we talk about the Delta 7. This Squadron Pack contains a slew of generic upgrades similar to what we find in the conversion kits. FFG is advertising this as a jumping off point for the Grand Republic, so what they want is for a player to be able to go ahead and get a core set and this box and be able to immediately play as a Grand Republic. From the cards we can see there are only 2 new upgrade cards. One being the Astromech R4P17. We know that because if you look at the art, that's the droid that we see Obi-Wan Kenobi flying around with in Attack of the Clones. And we also get a copy of Brilliant Invasion, which FFG gave us the whole card for. It reads, while you defend, if you are not in the attacker's bullseye firing arc, you may spend 1 force to change 2 of your eyeball results to evade results. This upgrade can be an absolute powerhouse depending on how much it's going to end up costing and the pilot you put it on. We know that defensive abilities are really, really good, and as long as you have a way to modify those focus results when defending, you're going to be exponentially extending your survivability, or at the very least, it is a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card, maybe to avoid something like 4 hits on a proton torpedo. Now, the thing I'm the most curious about in the spread are the 3 new tokens we can see. I want to start with the 3 red clouds. I think we're getting a new obstacle. Some people are speculating that it could be something like an ion cloud, but I honestly think that their effect is connected to the brand new red tokens that are right next to them. You see those red squares? If you take a look at the symbol on those squares, they almost look like a red version of the evade arrow. So what I'm suspecting is that when you receive those square red arrows, you reduce your agility by 1. So similar to Tractor, except there's no movement here. It's just lowering your agility by 1. and I'm then connecting that to those clouds that if you hit those clouds, you basically end up -1 agility. As for the black token near the center, I believe it's basically a mini rigged cargo chute. If you're not familiar with that upgrade, it's an illicit upgrade that allows you to, as an action, drop a debris cloud on the field. But it's not going to be an illicit most likely because I don't think that these pilots are going to end up having illicit slots. So it's going to go in some type of new slot, maybe modification is probably going to be my guess, and give you the ability to drop a small load of garbage inspired by Obi-Wan using it to avoid a missile when being chased by Jango Fett. The Guardians of the Republic Squad Pack also includes the Delta 7. And in order to talk about this chassis, I'm going to talk about the Guardians Delta 7 information along with the separate expansion pack that we're getting as well. In the Guardians Squad Pack, there seems to be 4 unique pilots and a non-unique. In the separate Delta 7 expansion, I believe we're getting 4 different unique pilots and the same non-unique pilot. In Guardians, we are for sure getting Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the non-generic is labeled Jedi Knight. As for the 3 pilots that are in the middle, I can't really make those out. I couldn't enhance enough to really get letters, but my guess is that we're going to be getting Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. And if we don't, I'm going to be really sad. But in the Delta 7 expansion pack, we can make out all of those pilots. We're going to be getting Luminara, Barriss, and Ahsoka, as well as another copy of the Jedi Knight and the Initiative 6 pilot that we all expected, Anakin Skywalker. Using the power of zoom, we can actually make out Anakin's complete ability and get some tidbits from some of the other pilots. I believe Anakin's ability reads, after you fully execute a maneuver, if an enemy ship is in your bullseye firing arc, you may assign that ship 1 stress token. The ability to stress enemy ships is something that not a lot of things in 2nd edition have. He is the best pilot in the galaxy, and when you see that guy coming at you, you're going to be stressed out. Now, the other pilots have some pretty important words cut off, so I'm just going to paraphrase what I think their ability is going to be. For Luminara, it looks like it allows an attacking friendly ship in a certain range to change a die result to a hit by spending a force, and Barriss's ability looks similar but with some different conditions. I think it's kind of cool that they have a similar ability, as Barriss is the apprentice to Luminara. And then Ahsoka buffs a friendly ship somehow after executing a maneuver. Taking a look at the stats for the Delta 7, it has 2 attack dice, 2 agility, 3 hull, 1 shield, and force depending on what the pilot is. The Jedi Knight, we can see that it has 1 force, and I'm assuming probably Anakin and Obi-Wan are going to have 3. Actions are focus, evade, lock, barrel roll, and boost, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you. That is a purple evade. We don't know exactly what the purple means, but we can for sure make the assumption that it's connected to the force somehow. My best guess is that you're required to spend the force in order to do that action. Now, I'll be honest, my knee-jerk reaction to that is that's a really steep cost, spending a force to get an evade token, but this could be useful on pilots that have 3 force or more, or in emergency situations. The Delta 7 has an amazing dial. It's what I expected, to be completely honest. It's an interceptor-like ship that can move around really fast. I mean, it's being flown by a Jedi, and it should be fast, and it should have lots of options. Then, if you combine its dial with its ship ability, you're going to be able to move all over the place with the Delta 7. So the ship ability reads, after you fully execute a maneuver, you may spend 1 force to perform a boost or barrel roll. Because the ship ability uses a resource that replenishes every turn, this means that potentially you're going to be able to add a barrel roll or a boost at the end of every single maneuver. As for the name of the ship ability, I'm not entirely sure. I'm guessing that it's fine-tuned control, but that was kind of hard to make out. The Delta 7 expansion brings you 6 different upgrade cards. Starting from the right side of the stack, we see that we have some card that gives a ship a purple coordinate. So that's going to be connected to the force somehow, similar to the purple evade on the ship cards. We then get a copy of Brilliant Invasion, which we talked about earlier, and a copy of R3 Astromech, which is a droid that's also available in the core set. Then there's another droid that is new that I think might reduce the difficulty of basic maneuvers by spending a charge. There's 2 charges on that. And then we have a copy of Calibrated Laser Targeting. This is a configuration and modification card. It's only for the Delta 7, and it reads, while you perform a primary attack, if the defender is in your bullseye, add an eyeball result. Now, this is a really good ability, similar to that defensive ability we talked about earlier. Adding results to rolls is really powerful, as long, in the case of an eyeball result, as long as you have a way to modify it. The Jedi, they have the Force, so if you can arc dodge and essentially get this automatic hit, as long as you have some Force left over, you're essentially adding a hit every turn as long as you have Force available to change this eyeball. Not to mention that you're going to be able to reliably get bullseye more often, with the ship ability being able to boost and barrel roll after every maneuver. And the last card right on top of the pile is the Delta 7B configuration card. It increases the front arc attack value by 1 and increases the shield value by 2 at the cost of 1 agility. So if you're using this configuration, you're essentially ending up with a Delta 7 that has 3 attack dice out the front, 2 agility, 3 hull, and 3 shields. Then the Grand Republic rounds out its fleet with the ARC 170. It has the same stats, dial, and actions as the Rebel Alliance ARC 170. This expansion has a ton of upgrades that we can see. Starting from the right, we have some new card that I'm going to guess is the Faction Elite Talent, similar to Fearless or Selfless, even though it doesn't end in less. Then we get a copy of Expert Handling, Proton Torpedoes, and now this is where things get interesting. Right next to each other, we have a Darth Sidious upgrade card and an Emperor Palpatine card. They both have a purple coordinate action that adds to the pilot that they're on. And then I think I see some text on the Emperor Palpatine card that has to do with having that side face up during setup. Now, this would mean that there's some way to have that card be flipped during the game, and this is where some speculation comes in. Some people are saying that, oh, you're just seeing both sides of the card, they're just showing you both. And I don't think that to be true, to be completely honest, because then why are they showing you 2 cards? What I think will happen is on the back side of the Emperor Palpatine card, we're going to have like the deformed Palpatine, the one with all the wrinkles and the hood after facing off with Mace Windu. It might have a similar ability, or do something like L337 did, where the opposite side is a completely different ability. As for what the ability text actually does, it's kind of hard to make out. You can see that there's a mechanic where you can spend the Force to get some type of ability, but of course you can spend that Force just to modify dice, or to what I think is spend the Force in order to use that purple coordinate. Then we have a one-time use gunner card and end with a modification card named Synchronized Console. It reads, after you perform an attack, you may choose a friendly ship at range 1 or a friendly ship with synchronized console at range 1 to 3 and spend the lock you have on the defender. If you do, the friendly ship you choose may acquire a lock on the defender. So if you got lost in that text, basically it's saying if you have a target lock left over after attacking somebody, you can pass it off. In the comment section down below, what I want you to do is let me know what has you the most excited about the Grand Republic faction. Maybe you were able to pick up on some of these abilities that I couldn't quite zoom in on. Let us know that as well. Or maybe what are some ideas and things that you would like to see develop here for the Grand Republic over time. Like, subscribe, Gold Squadron, out.